Hi everybody. I've got to say I'm absolutely sickened by this society, Britain, at the moment. The people, I've got to say, are, well, they're beyond my comprehension as human beings, okay? Because we've got the whole country up in arms, basically, according to the media. And a petition that's come out recently that's received 750,000 signatures overnight. And it's all about the fact that this evil bastard criminal cabal that's presently squatting at number 10 have decided to axe free school meals for children during the Christmas holiday, the half-term break. So this has incensed the public. Politicians have been calling each other scum in Parliament over it. You get on social media, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. Oh, the evil people. Oh, they voted to cut children's meals. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, you would never know that just a couple of weeks ago, this government has passed a bill to give itself rights to commit acts of terrorism against everybody in Britain, including children. There is absolutely no clause in this bill whatsoever that protects children from kidnapping, torture, rape and murder. None, right? Nothing there whatsoever to protect children, and not a single person in Britain or in Parliament has spoken out about it. Okay? Even about that. Never mind about what's threatening us all. Okay? And I'll leave you a video I've made covering that under this, and I advise you to watch it. So the whole country is up in arms about a gnat of an issue, because it is a gnat of an issue, right? Because basically we have been told, we are, that in no uncertain terms, by this government before the general election of 2019, that Brexit, a hard Brexit, was going to bring 50 years austerity on steroids. Because don't forget, they're all at this very moment, the top notches, lining up, placing their bets against the British pound, which is going to plummet. So the pound in your pocket will be worth 25p by the end of it, right? So that's the slashing of everybody's wages. Okay? So basically what the people of this country are not up in arms about, this is the fact of it, right? They're up in arms about the fact that a few of the poorest children, the few children that are left that get free school meals, right, aren't going to get fed over Christmas before they get thrown over the edge of a cliff. Okay? That's basically what the whole uproar is about. That is the level that the British mentality has been reduced to by the media, by the government. It has to be. That people, the only righteous cause that they can actually stand by in their hundreds and thousands and millions is the fact that the children, before they get thrown over the edge of a cliff by a set of murdering criminal monsters, at least the poorest of them, at least make sure the poorest children have had a meal before they get thrown over the edge of a cliff. Right? Because, you know, this was in 2018. And, alright, I've shared the HuffPost headline here, but this headline was everywhere in the British media. 1 million children were suddenly denied free school meals permanently. That isn't, they were just denied free school meals over the Christmas period. They were denied free school meals permanently because this government slashed the eligibility threshold at which parents could claim free school meals for their children, which was originally at 14,000 a year. So people who were on 14,000 a year, their children were entitled to free school meals. But they slashed it to 7,400 a year, right? So if you were earning 7,500 a year, 7,600 a year, no, your children weren't entitled to preschool meals, suddenly. Oh, but in Ireland, they were. And then we have the Labour government here apparently had a small victory. Labour managed a partial victory on separate plans to axe childcare vouchers this April. So not only did this Tory government axe free school meals for 1 million children, they even planned to axe childcare for working parents. So how's a parent going to go to work if they've got nobody to care for the child? So actually stopping people from going to work. And then you look at the whole system, whereby the benefit system, which was set up originally to provide an income to people who were left unemployed for whatever reason, has been twisted and turned to the degree that instead, no, it's helping employers. So employers can pay people crap wages, people who will rely on the government to pay their childcare and to feed their children at school, so that they can go and work for an employer and receive less than a living wage and end up living on £14,000 a year. Okay? And what did Labour's partial victory amount to on the separate plans to axe childcare? Well, basically, the DWP decided to delay closing the childcare voucher scheme for at least another 6 months. So basically, Labour won them a partial reprieve. 6 months. All right, we're gonna put it off for 6 months. So you've got 6 months, people, to sort out your childcare, because it's going in 6 months. That's what Labour managed to do, right? And this was the promise, right? The next Labour government will extend childcare provision and provide free school meals for all primary school children, right? But no, this country decided by a landslide to vote for the bastards who denied 1 million children, of the poorest children, free school meals. No. And now they're all up in arms about the fact that the children that remain that are on the free school meals aren't going to get a meal over Christmas before they get thrown over the edge of the cliff after Christmas, when the hard Brexit hits and we get martial law and rationing and all the other shit that's coming with it. So, you know, I compare that to this petition, which is on the same site as the childcare, as the child school meals petition that's just received 750,000 votes overnight, to this one that 120 people have signed, that is basically demanding our rights to a fair and free democracy and questioning an attack against our democracy. And I tell you now, we have more evidence to support our lawful suspicion that the postal vote was rigged than what Blair and Bush together had by way of evidence to justify invasion of Iraq. Right? We've got more evidence to support our lawful suspicion of a rigged postal vote than what Blair and Bush had to justify invading Iraq. We have got more evidence to justify our lawful suspicion of a rigged postal vote than Theresa May had when she immediately evicted 23 Russian diplomats from Britain on strength of suspicion that it was Russia that was responsible for the nerve agent attack in Salisbury. Right? The very democracy that we have been robbed of is the reason why our children are suffering. Is the reason why there's going to be the families living on 14,000 a year have increased since 2018, and they will continue to increase. Okay? Because we've been robbed of democracy. I find it very hard to believe that this country did vote for these people by a landslide. And it is very serious when that landslide gives the government then the right to not only deny food to children, but also to give them the rights to kidnap, torture, rape and murder everybody, including children. As Jesus said, they will strain at a gnat and they will swallow the camel. Well, the camel is going to kill you, okay? So you carry on with your petty little issues, okay? Your petty safe issues. This whole thing is a distraction. And what you are fighting for, what you are demanding right now, Britain, is that the very poorest children do get a meal before they get thrown over the edge of the cliff with all the other children whose parents at the moment can afford still to feed them. And, you know, I've seen all the stuff, oh, well, you know, these parents, you know, this free school money, it's just allowing parents to buy the cigarettes and the alcohol and the drugs and blah, blah, blah. I mean, how dare anybody judge the poorest people of how they live? I mean, what is this? You get a bowl of food, a shed and a bowl of water in the corner, there you go. Because we're fucking dogs, aren't we? We don't need a community. We don't need some social standing. We don't need some respect and love and care from our community. We don't need to be made to feel that we have a worth as a human being. We can just raise our kids, you know, just buy them some cheap food. You can feed a family on £30 a week if you put your mind to it. Well, suppose you haven't got much of a mind because you've grown up in poverty, you've been abused, you're depressed. Can you magic away depression? And we'll just ignore the fact that there was not one single surface, not one single bathroom, toilet surface in the Houses of Parliament that did not have traces of cocaine on it. But we won't bother about them because rich people, well, they're allowed to do the drugs, aren't they? They're allowed to get drunk. They're allowed to rig the postal vote if they want and nobody's going to ask any questions. They're allowed to give themselves powers to, you know, kidnap, torture, rape and kill people going on strike. Because, you know, they're a threat against the economy. And anything that's a threat against the economy, well, the terrorist bill comes into action. But it's all right for the Tories and their rich friends to be actually betting against the British pound. It's all right if your wages, you know, go down in real terms from 14,000 to a quarter of that, isn't it? But at least you signed a petition to make sure that the poorest children had a meal before they faced the levels of horror and austerity coming. At least they'll get the Christmas meal. Fucking hell. I tell you, these people that are controlling your brain, Britain, emancipate yourself from mental slavery. These people who are controlling your brain and your emotions, because surely they must be. Surely you must all be absolutely under that spell of the media spotlight. They must be having a laugh. Oh, look at them getting all angry because the children aren't going to get fed before they get thrown over the edge of a cliff. Right, if you've got any sense about you, you will sign this. And you know what can I say? The 120 people that have signed this, that have dared to care, you have my top respect. Okay? You have my top respect. And it is disturbing. It's disturbing how few people are bothered about the very democracy. That the fact that we have been robbed of democracy in the first place is exactly the reason why children in Britain are facing going hungry over Christmas. So, you know, get your priorities straight, Britain. Otherwise, yes, the force of gravity will hit. Who's it going to be? Who's it going to be? Right? Who's going to be falling down here? Are we going to ask some righteous questions and get lawful and stand with the law and stand by our rights? Or are we not?